everybody, welcome to Jacob's Quest, and today I just finished watching episode 8 of Vision Season 2. It was called The Pit, and it was by, weirdly enough, it was by Lucasfilm and D'Art Chattoggio. Okay, so the Visions normally is one studio, from around the world, or, first season was just Japan. And this episode, for some reason, also says it's from Lucasfilm themselves. So I'm not sure what that implies as far as like the production of this episode. But yeah, we have D'Art Chattoggio, like that's the name of one studio, and then we have Lucasfilm, which, okay, that's interesting. None of the other episodes said that. So, I was under the impression that Lucasfilm is very hands-off with these. They kind of let the studios do their own thing. But I suppose maybe they had something to do with this episode. Not really sure why. Very interesting. But in any case, this episode I felt like had a really good initial premise, and then it kind of fell maybe a little bit flat, because what we had at the beginning was we had a bunch of prisoners being marched through the desert, and they're told to dig at a certain spot, and they have like a little radar thing. They're looking for something, and so they're digging and they eventually find a kyber crystal, right? And so we do like this time lapse where we can see like more and more prisoners are brought in, like hundreds more, and everyone's digging this giant crazy tunnel where you can assume that they're digging out more and more kyber crystal. And in the process of that, there is this massive city that's beginning to get built from the resources that they're digging up. And then when they finally reach a point where they can't dig any deeper, I guess the layer of the planet is too rough for their tools, the Empire just leaves them there. And it's like this really kind of messed up thing where it's like, oh, you just left hundreds of people literally at the bottom of this giant hole, and they can't get out, right? So at first they were all cheering because their handcuffs were released, right? So their shackles were released. It's like, oh, they're all cheering, but then they realize like, oh wait, there's no way out of this hole, and so they were kind of just stuck there. And then one of them, who seems to know a bit more about kyber crystals and the light and all that stuff, he just tells one of the children there, like, hey, look, if people follow their lights, everyone has a light inside of them, then they'll know where they're supposed to be going, right? Pretty straightforward lesson that Star Wars teaches, do good things, basically, right? And so he manages to escape from this pit, and it very much reminded me of The Dark Knight Rises, where Bruce Wayne had to climb out of there. So he gets out of the pit, he goes over to the city, and he tries to get everyone's attention of like, there's people, hundreds of us, in a giant hole just outside the city. All you guys gotta do is walk out there and you'll see us. But he gets captured by stormtroopers, and then they throw him back in the pit. And so he dies from the fall, because like this pit is like 4 miles deep or something. So he's dead. And like that was it. And then the kid that he had told about like, oh, follow the lights and all that, he had given her a kyber crystal, and so she kind of, I'm not entirely sure how to interpret what happened here. Basically, she's like, hey, if we just tell everyone to follow the light, they'll know where to find us. And so they all just start chanting, follow the light, over and over again. And I suppose the idea is that they were loud enough that everyone in the city heard them, I guess? It was kind of unclear. But everyone in the city starts heading towards the hole, and the stormtroopers try to stop them, but they're just overrun because there's too many of them. And then they end up saving everyone out of the pit. And then when on their way home, or wherever they're going on the ship now, the kyber crystal turns blue and it levitates. Like, oh, the girl's force sensitive. That's cool. And then that was pretty much it. So I don't know. I feel like the initial idea of like, oh, the Empire trapped hundreds of people in this hole, like that was really interesting. And then they kind of didn't do much with it after that. They're just kind of like, and now we were loud enough that people knew where we were and we got out of the hole. So I don't know. It was an interesting one. I kind of wish that there was more done with it, because man, it was such a cool concept, and it was such a like crazy messed up thing that the Empire did, just to leave them down there like for no reason, just because you could, like, right? Like, don't even bother getting them out of the hole, because why bother, right? Like, that's just such an evil Empire thing to do. But then beyond that, it like just not much came of it, you know? Like the kid who got out of the hole and he came up with the whole plan, like he just got thrown down the hole again and he died. I was like, oh, his story's over, I guess. I don't know. It felt like, I don't know, maybe I was missing something. I don't know. But ultimately I was like, okay, they got out of the hole, and then she might be force sensitive. And that's pretty much the end of that one. So I don't know, guys. I think, you know, some of these are clearly going to be a little bit weaker than others. Like, and it's not like there was anything necessarily wrong with this episode. It felt like you came up with a cool idea at the beginning, and then you didn't know how to close it out in just, you know, 14 minutes, you know? So like, and then they got out, you know? So I don't know. Anyways, let me know what you guys think of The Pits. I'm mostly curious of like what was going on with the production of this one, because why is Lucasfilm's name attached to the beginning of this? Because if you guys go look at all the other episodes before this one, the only name at the you know, the studio presents little tagline at the beginning, it's only the new studio who has worked on this one episode. But this one also had Lucasfilm's name on it, so I'm kind of curious as to, you know, were they like helping with the story or something? I'm not really sure. So anyways, let me know what you guys think, and I'll see you guys on the next episode. Bye.